as long as I can remember, I've always wanted an Audi RS3. At the time when they were produced, they were the hyper hatch on the market. 2.5 litre running around 360 brake horsepower. It was the ultimate daily hatchback. Now, there was no way I was going to pay retail for one of those. Welcome to my Audi RS3. Now this was a super proud moment for me, finally buying an Audi RS3. You would have seen a few episodes ago, before the Ford Ranger, we actually raced our Golf R against an Audi RS3 and we absolutely demolished it. But that feeling of driving an RS3 is just a different sensation. And this is my beautiful Sepang blue Audi RS3. And no, it wasn't written off by the insurance because of that little dent there. Let's go over to the passenger side. Now this is unlike any other car I've bought before. It's not just a car-on-car accident where body panels are damaged and that kind of thing. It clearly looks like the driver at the time ran out of driver talent and he's slid and perhaps hit a curb or something like that. But that back wheel is completely smashed to bits, spokes have completely snapped, and the suspension clearly isn't right there. Moving on to the airbags. We've got one seat airbag deployed and we've got the curtain airbag deployed. But surprisingly, the seat belts are all fine, the dashboard's fine, so simply 2 airbags have deployed there. Moving on to the front, if we see on the passenger side, this wheel is pointing to the left, and if we go over to the driver's side, this wheel is facing forward. So clearly a track rod or a track rod end, maybe a wishbone, is bent on the passenger front side. Other than the cosmetic damage that we can see, there is one big reason why I was hesitant to bid on this car. And that's because it was advertised as a non-runner. So the car doesn't start at all. We can't get the car moving. It's been delivered here by M&M Recovery. Again, shout out to M&M Recovery. But yeah, the car doesn't run, it doesn't move, and I'm really hoping it's a minor issue, but if that engine's gone, this is going to turn into a long series. Now, my top bid on this car, I didn't want to go over £10,000. These cars, as a category S, tend to go between £18,000 and £22,000. I thought if I get this car for £10,000, there's absolutely no loss. There's no way I can lose. It's a category N, not a category S. It's got low miles, it's got 2 keys, it's got a service history, and we'll get into what else it has on this car because it's absolutely mega. But here's the clip of me bidding on the car. Like I said, I didn't want to go over 10,000, but that Copart music got to me.
Item is next on the block. This is a hot lot. New bidder. Bonus time. New bidder. Bonus time. Bonus time. Bonus time.
So as you can see, I got a bit carried away and I went to £12,200, which still I think is a good deal, provided that engine starts. I need this engine to start, I need the gearbox to be fine, and I'll show you the reason why I am super scared right now, because this car has been modified. As you can see, Eventuri carbon fiber intake, absolutely amazing. I've looked at the retail price on one of these. I believe retail, these are £1,700. Ridiculous for an intake. So clearly the car's modified. I've looked through the glove box. We've got paperwork for an MRC Stage 2 tune. We've got a stainless steel custom catback exhaust. We've got decat downpipes. The car's absolutely incredible. I'm really hoping we can get it started. So that's enough talk. Let's get started and see if we can get this bad boy started. Now, first things first, this car is absolutely filthy. Clearly, the previous owner had an addiction to McDonald's because there's McDonald's wrappers scattered absolutely everywhere. But let's try and start it. So foot on the brake, push the start, and nothing. Key not recognized. That's strange. We've got both keys in the car. It looks like this is the trackpad. So now let me try it whilst holding the key. Oh, okay, we have an ignition. Safety system fault. So foot on the brake. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Could this be as simple as the battery and the keys are dead? Let's see if the car even locks with the keys. The keys don't work at all. Could this be as simple as either the key has lost program or the batteries are dead? What are the chances both batteries died? Let me grab a new battery and check that out. New key battery, the locks now work, so that's good. Let's try it again. I'll still hold it there just in case. Still nothing. The battery's got power because I have a booster on the battery right now. The battery was dead when we picked the car up, but nothing, just warning lights. What have I just spent £12,000 on? Okay, clearly this is not going right. I don't know why this car's not starting, but let me give my friend Donny a call because he's really knowledgeable about these Audis.
Yeah, Dunify.
Yes, Donny, what's happening?
Silly, what's going on?
Good. You know, I told you I bought that Audi RS3.
Approximately 10 hours later.
The airbag gone.
Airbags, yeah, one seat airbag and one curtain airbag.
Okay, I'm sure they've got a pyro fuse.
Pyro fuse, is this not the same as a Golf R?
Yeah, quite similar.
But this has a pyro fuse. Where is the pyro fuse?
Have you checked into the battery?
Next to the battery.
Yeah, have a look under there.
Let me have a look. Oh, there's like a black box. Is it in there?
It should be in there, check.
But it does have a pyro fuse. Thank you, Donny. Goodbye. I had no idea these cars had a pyro fuse. I thought it was the same as a Golf R, and if you go back to our Golf R videos, every airbag in that Golf R had deployed. It still started fine. So, if that is the pyro fuse, I'm guessing that's the pyro fuse there. If that is the pyro fuse, this car is really banking on it being that simple. Could it be a fuse? So, my understanding about pyro fuses is the power comes here from the battery, off the positive terminal, and into this fuse box. Now if you follow that positive cable, it goes along here, and before it can go to the car, the front of the car, this fuse controls whether that circulation is cut or open. So I'm really hoping it's that. Let me try. Instead of boosting the car from here, where you'd normally jump start a car, I'm going to put the positive terminal after the pyro fuse and see if it is that pyro fuse at fault. Before we try the booster, another example of this previous owner, addicted to McDonald's. But got my booster pack. What I'm going to try and do is put positive after the fuse, and the negative I will just go to here because I'm guessing that goes to the body of the car. I'm really hoping this works. Let's try that. So foot on the brake, ignition on, push to start. Would you look at that? Donny came through. I was really worried there for a moment. I thought we'd bought a lemon. That engine sounds sweet. I really thought we bought a £12,000 lemon. That's amazing. Just a fuse was stopping it, so I'm guessing a lot of people were deterred at the auction. Being a non-runner, what is the risks? That's a £7,000 engine. Let me hear this exhaust. Okay, it's still cold. Let's give it a chance to warm up. While that's warming up, what I'm going to do is run over to TPS and get a replacement fuse. I'm sure those fuses can only be cheap. Quick trip over TPS, bought in this pyro fuse, huge box for a tiny little fuse, but it was only £30. I've just thrown it on the floor. There it is. Get that battery terminal off. Okay, that's the pyro fuse back in. Brand new pyro fuse. We can reconnect the battery and hopefully that is our problem solved. Got the key. Let's try that without a jumper pack now. Lovely. It was just a fuse. This car was advertised as a non-runner because of a fuse, a £30 fuse. I think we might just have ourselves a bargain. Before we get a bit too excited, let's get the car jacked up. Let's get that back wheel off and see how bad the damage is. I should have all the parts, but we'll see once we get the car jacked up. Because the car started, my plan has just changed. I'm going to do this complete build in one episode. Not going to rinse the content, try and get 10 episodes out of this car. One episode, this car is going to be done, and then maybe in the next one, we'll go for a good drive in it. What do you reckon? Right, so now that that's smashed wheels off, we get a good look of what's going on. This car is absolutely rusted. It looks like it hasn't been driven in months, but if we look at the back here, this lower wishbone is completely bent and it looks like they've propped it up with a block of wood. That's incredible. But those blue springs don't look stock, perhaps aftermarket springs, lowering springs, but as a whole doesn't look bad at all. That trailing arm looks okay and straight. Let's start with getting that lower wishbone removed. Finally got the suspension in bits. The only thing still left on the car is the hub assembly and the shock absorber. So this wishbone, as you can see, was toast, and I've got a new used replacement here from a breaker's yard. When I took the springs out, I already knew it had lowering springs because I could see blue springs on there, and that's not stock. So it's got H&R lowering springs, so that's going to be awesome for performance. There's nothing wrong with that spring, so that can be used again. All the stabilizing arms were broken or snapped or bent, so I've got a brand new replacement, and for this arm I've also got a used replacement. Now when trying to get this wishbone out, all the bolts were just bent inside, and so I went ahead and just grinded it off, and that allowed the wishbone to come out. And I knew I was going to end up grinding all the bolts off, so I've gone ahead in anticipation of that, just gone to TPS and got all the nuts and bolts. These are the OEM nuts and bolts, so that's going to go in great. Now we're rapidly losing daylight right now, so you've already seen me take it apart. It's just the same process to put it all back together, and I'll check back in with you guys once all these bits are back onto that suspension leg. To begin with, the disc and the caliper was absolutely fine. Hopefully the hub doesn't have a bend, but we'll find out once we start driving it. But to start with, we got this lower arm replaced for a replacement used one. And on top of that, we got this U-shaped arm replaced, and also down below that little dog bone arm right down the bottom. So all replaced, and hopefully going to be nice and straight once the new wheel is on. Moving on to the new wheel. When we first looked at this rim, I said only two of the spokes were snapped. But if you see 1, 2, 3, 4 spokes are snapped, the car was sitting on one spoke. What a nightmare. But that one out, and bought a direct replacement. It's almost brand new. I think somebody had it lying around in their garage. There's not a single curb mark. It's absolutely fantastic. And I only paid £200 for it. So my plan is, I want to keep the original tyres. They're Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres. So what I'm going to do is pop over to the tyre shop, load up the Ford Ranger with this wheel and this wheel, get this tyre removed from this rim and onto the new rim. This is cold, wet, it's raining now, so we're putting in the graft. So £10 later has got us a tyre replaced from our old wheel onto this lovely brand new wheel. But the only reason I'm going to use the old tyre is because I've read online, if you change one side, you should always change the other side on this RS3 because of the diff or the Howdex or something like that. But now visually that looks perfect. The suspension does look higher though. Maybe the lowering springs take some time to bed in. I thought that was a first time thing, but yeah, that side definitely looks higher. Here's the original spring, it's the original shock. So maybe after a couple of drives it'll just settle down a bit. But that is the exterior done. Now with the exterior done, the only thing left on this car is the interior. In this case, I've checked how much these seats cost. They go about £300 to £400 each on the used market, so it's not worth me buying a single seat. I'm surprised it's even that expensive. It's not even a super sports bucket seat, but still it's a £300 to £400 seat, and I've had a quote for £120 with the airbag to get retrimmed. So before we go on to the curtain airbag, I'm going to get this passenger seat removed, send it off in the Ford Ranger to get retrimmed. That should be ready by tomorrow, and by which time we'll have the curtain airbag replaced. Right, that's the wiring disconnected and all 4 bolts, so this seat should be ready to come out. It's going to be a heavy seat, it's an electric seat, but yeah. One deployed airbag removed, and it's probably a good job because now we'll have more access in the car to get to that curtain airbag. I hate curtain airbags, every piece of trim, the little clips that hold them into the roof, but let's get you on a time lapse and get that curtain airbag removed. That was a lot easier than the Golf R, purely because this one's a 5-door and that was a 3-door. and so there was less trim to remove to get this headlining down. But that is the new airbag in. The last piece of trim is this post here with the speaker. So let's go ahead, get that in. Now, I'm not one for interiors, but that went a lot easier than I thought. If anyone has any ideas how to get these wrinkles out the headlining once the airbag deploys, because when the airbag deploys, it just tears through this headlining. Luckily, it doesn't rip, but it does wrinkle a lot. So if anyone's got any tips on how to get these wrinkles out, maybe a steam iron, something like that, I'll give it a go. But for the most part, that looks fantastic. There is a bit of dirt there, so we do need to get that cleaned off as well. But overall, 10 out of 10. Just now, the seat. I'm just sitting here ready to hoover, and I'm looking at this center console here, and you can see kind of residues of maybe a Coke or a drink. So it's quite funny because this airbag deployed and this airbag deployed, none of the seat belts locked up, the driver's side nothing happened. So I'm guessing somebody was sat here on the passenger seat with their McDonald's, because this car is full of McDonald's. The driver slid out of control, hit the curb, and the person sitting in the passenger seat has got a Coke and it's flown in the air. We've got splashes of Coke on the ceiling and all along the center console. Our seat has come back. I love the way the stitching's been done. It's a nice, clean, straight stitch. That's one seat done. I'm going to plug in the VCDS. That's the curtain airbag plugged in. That's the new seat airbag plugged in. As far as we know, that's all the airbags that were deployed in the car. But
yeah, I got the juice like a snow cone. Ice in my veins and a cold flow. I'm getting cash overseas by the boatload. You wanna ride my wave? That's a no-go. Señoritas going loco. Make it bounce like a pogo. All my haters see rojo. They big mad cause they coming up short like Frodo.
Check out my Bumblebee, 6.3 litre, twin turbo, naturally aspirated.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Come on. Let's hear it. Aye, aye, aye. Aye, 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 aye. Send it. Send it.
right, now the last thing for us to do on the interior is get this airbag light removed. So I've got the VCDS in, and I'm really hoping that the seat belts haven't blown, because they are not locked, but I'm worried that there might still be a code. The resistance might be wrong still, so let's have a look. So if we go into airbags, seat airbag, reset that, and boom, that should be gone. So now we don't have an airbag light. Spot on. Right, so the only thing visually that I can see wrong with this car still is this little dent here in the wing. Now, because the damage hasn't gone through the paintwork, I'm really hoping that we can get a paintless dent removal on that dent. So if there's anyone out there that knows anything about paintless dent removal, or you run a paintless dent removal company, drop me a message on Instagram. It's down in the description box below. Drop me a message and hopefully we can get you on the next video to get that dent sorted. But that is this video complete. Join me next week when we go for our first drive and maybe even race something. If you've got a car that we can race, drop me down a message on Instagram and we'll line them up. This is running around 500 brake horsepower, so anything between 450 and 550 brake horsepower, drop me a message and we can go for a quick sprint. Bam!